What should we do?
Begin the next game.
Squid Game may have reached global success, but along the way they made some changes. Some that went well, and others that have only garnered more criticism.
When did you realize the show became so big?
Right now.
When Squid Game came out and its popularity began to rise, one would think that the hard work was over, but that wasn't the case with the Netflix hit. The show faced serious backlash because the numbers used on the Squid Game business cards were real and belonged to some residents in South Korea. If those people didn't know what Squid Game was before, they definitely knew when their phones were blowing up with messages and phone calls from fans of the K-drama. A dessert shop owner in South Korea saw the effect Squid Game had on fans pretty directly. Her business number was one of the few shown on screen in the show. She started getting endless phone calls 24 hours a day. It's not all jokes though. Some of the callers were actually asking to be part of the game or just to express their anger and yell. The shop owner had over 4,000 different numbers trying to reach her, clogging up her business line and affecting her sugar-free sweet bean jellies sales. Another number belonged to a man who received so many calls and messages that his phone was regularly dying throughout the day. Not only that, he couldn't even get any of the calls or messages that were actually meant for him. While Netflix worked quickly to edit and cut scenes where the real phone numbers appeared, for some reason, they do still make the screen for Australian viewers.
넌 뭐 하는 분이신데 아침부터 전화로 개소리세요?
Once the show had finished filming, the time came for it to be dubbed over in different languages. One of the actors who performed the English dubbing was a big fan of the fact that all his castmates were either of Korean or Asian heritage, which turned out to be a huge plus when they were recording in the studio. As they came across some inconsistencies and mistranslations throughout the script, they took a moment to bring it to the production crew and changed the already written script. The cast did a great job at bringing clarity to the scenes. Korean actors, even if not fluent, can call out something if it's not right, is how Edward Hong, who did the dubbing for the priest character, put it. He had a better understanding of specifically how certain people would speak, like the religious character he portrayed, meaning he was able to tell if something didn't quite click. Dubbing is a very specific skill on its own, since the actors need to vocally match the on-screen performance and visuals. So to be able to change dialogue on the go is really raising the bar.
It's our time to face the Lord.
While loads of people around the globe love Squid Game, not everyone is a fan of what turned out to be some pretty misleading subtitles when it came to the English version on Netflix. Translating a show from its original language is a tricky job, and unfortunately, in the case of Squid Game, many of the subtleties and meanings were lost in translation, which does do quite a disservice to the original writer who put together such a tight script. Not only that, the English dubbing and the English subtitles also have variations between them, making it a pretty strange watching experience.
I'm better than you think, and I'm stronger than most guys too.
Number 212's character was majorly impacted by this. The English translation we get is,
I'm not a genius, but I still got it where it counts.
When in reality, she's saying, I'm very smart, I just never got a chance to study. The meanings are pretty different, and the actual line also works as a reference to a trope of characters with smarts but not a whole lot of money that's regularly seen in Korean television. These changes from the original script didn't work out so well.
I'll do anything you tell me. I'm not a regular girl.
Episode 1 of Squid Game is called Red Light, Green Light, but in Korean it's a very different story. The original title of the episode translates to The Day That the Mugunghwa Flower Blossomed, a play on the name of the game in Korea. It's a long but beautiful title, and it definitely isn't even close to the English one we got. What makes this really frustrating is that we lose a lot of cultural significance since the Mugunghwa flower symbolizes beginnings, and is the national flower of Korea. Depending on who you're talking to or where you are, Squid Game can also be referred to as Round 6. It's even the official title of the show on IMDb. Round 6 was the name the show was called when Netflix announced the production in 2019, but when it was time to launch the show, they went with the title we've all come to hear so often. What we see on screen in the subtitles and what we hear are two very different things when it comes to the English translations. If watching the show in Korean, the English subtitles don't feature a small but significant line in which Player 1 says, "There is no ownership between me and you." The fact that the subtitles were changed not to include it deeply affects how we interpret this. Definitely not a great change. On the road to worldwide success, Netflix's Squid Game definitely hit some speed bumps with the data leaking and misleading translations, but it hasn't held back the team at all. In fact, one change made on the go brought one of the greatest small moments in the show. Gyeon picking up Se-byok's coffee cup was total improv. Considering it took 10 years for the show to actually get made, it seems like all the time, money, and effort was definitely worth it. What would you do if your number was the one featured on Squid Game?